All three tracks on this were recorded in the parking garages at UCLA. I had a TAC 4-track reel-to-reel and a few microphones that I managed to cobble together. As I was re-listening to some of those recordings, I realized that there was some really good stuff there. Well, all three tracks on this, I think, are really interesting versions. Letterpress label with the hole through the head.
Bruce has a fine head. I wouldn't want to do that. I think it was just like, we would have these bits and pieces of things that we would play around with, and I think that was just one of those occasions.
He had some metal pipes that he was banging together, as I recall. That may have been something that Phil came up with. Then I started playing it and embellished it a bit. I made it my own.
I have to thank Bruce for coming, for introducing that idea of the monotone guitar. I didn't really think of Dick Dale or any of that. I never even ever associated that song with that, but I guess, it is kind of a industrial surf kind of thing.
Yeah, Mark had such a great surf beat going on that song.
Yeah,
every one of us had a different way of playing that guitar. Yeah, that's me doing the screaming now.
You were the tragic figure.
I was, yeah. I was trying to find some blocks of wood that were around the right height. I cut a piece of it and I just ran it through the table saw. On the bottom side of the block of wood, it's solid. So I printed that first in the white and then flipped it over and printed the red stripes on top of that.
I've always been blown away by, Bruce's art. Each album was a work of art. That image has been floating around, between us for several years.
Fundamental Music put out a CD in the late 80s, I believe, that included these three tracks. And it got reissued in the early 90s as a co-release between IPR and a label called We Never Sleep. This sort of filled a hole to be able to say, okay, here's something new from the band, even though it was older recordings.
Right.
When this came out, I was sort of in the process of trying to figure out how to keep the band going. An opportunity to release some older music kind of kept the band name in people's consciousness.
I was amazed that we were able to pull it off. It had a freshness and spontaneity to it that was, just really very enjoyable, and the setting was just spectacular.
The energy that we as a group had, we were just so excited to be creating this music and experimenting and trying new things. And it's like, wow, do you hear that sound? It was good times.